Welcome to Charts Today. It is Thursday, the 16th of July, and this is a chart of Apple, a daily chart, medium term. Big move yesterday, 4% up, taking Apple to a convincing new all-time high. So that's good news for Apple. We will come back and look at the tech stocks, but first of all, we just start with the dollar. No real change on the dollar, and we really are, if we look at the short-term chart, we just see the dollar weakening slightly. So that is having a little bit of an impact on some of the other currencies. Sterling rising on that weaker dollar, so sitting at about 135 on the short-term chart. Still waiting to see which way we break medium term. If we look at Bitcoin, we talked about this yesterday. We've got an upside target. The 60-minute chart really struggling at that 65,000 level, so that's the level to watch there. The Nasdaq, despite Apple making a new high, didn't really manage to move the dial in terms of the Nasdaq just struggling ever since the 1st of June. Nasdaq has really been in a consolidation phase. Can we break higher? That's going to be the big question. Looking at the futures today, we're down a 0.25%. So it does suggest we'll open lower, and the S&P future, you can see there's quite a key long-term resistance level at around 7,630. So those lines coming from previous levels, so it's quite key. UK market is down 0.5% this morning, so that's struggling, and the DAX in Germany just slightly lower. So markets just generally struggling a little bit. Japan actually down 1.5%. And the Chinese market, Shanghai index, really falling away quite dramatically, giving a new downside target. The Sensex bucking the trend just a little bit, but really when we look at the daily chart in the Sensex, it is a recovery play. We need to make a higher high above that 79, let's say 80,000 level. Then we would say we would recover back to that 85,000 level. Brent crude is falling away a bit today. We've called it neutral in our morning call report. And if you look at what's going on in energy, really quite significant moves. Even just UK power, well, German power is making a 2.5-year high. If you look at UK power, this has been really rocketing. So expect your energy bills to go up at the next energy cap, and that is going to be bad news for inflation in the UK, certainly. Cocoa down 3% this morning, so whilst we have got strong upside targets, quite pulling back there. Coffee down as well, and sugar, excuse me, sugar down, just struggling really at that $15 level. So that's quite key. And if we look at the daily chart, just each time we do have recovery, it's to a lower high before we then go and make a lower low and activate a downside target. Gold is sitting at a 4,000 level, just above 4,000, 4,025. Just a failed recovery. 4,200 is where we have to get above for gold, and silver is in a range of 57.63, and again testing that 57 level this morning, so that's not good news. And Palladium was bucking the trend a little bit, but even that's now falling back down 1.3%. US bond yields are rising higher. Bond yields globally are just edging higher, so that's not good news. SpaceX, look at all those daily candles. So that's the daily chart. It's starting to look interesting. We are below the 135 level, which was where people invested in the IPO entered the price. We did actually recover just to 135, but we are entering territory where people will want to get their money back, and that's going to be bad news with a lot of sellers entering the market there. Apple, we talked about, that's a big jump through that 315, 320 level, and that's good news for Apple. Amazon up 3%, starting to look stronger as well. Alphabet also recovering, and even Microsoft was up nearly 3% yesterday, so its recovery looking a little bit better. Meta up 3%, and actually I got a new upside target there on the short-term chart. Nvidia just struggling a little bit, and Tesla bucking the trend. They're falling with downside targets on that 60-minute chart, so not looking strong there either. If we look at the Dow, 30 list. You can see Apple was the top performer. Cisco was the worst performer, down 4.5%. That is looking a little bit bearish on that short-term chart below the cloud. And we can see we had a downside target on the daily chart, which is now looking like it will be met. So IBM down a further 2.7% after a 25% fall the day before. Just shows that that is not going to recover anytime soon. That's bad news for IBM. The daily chart will not look the same for quite some time, and that breaking that May level, and if we look at the weekly chart, we can start to see that volatility in the price. Now we're starting to see 18-month lows, really not great. Looking at the Nasdaq, actually really interesting. If we look at the performance in the Nasdaq yesterday, PayPal was up strongly on bid potential there. If we look at the medium-term chart, we see that jump. There's a bid. But if we look at the other end, and we saw stocks like Alphabet looking strong there on the daily. But if you look at the downside, it was chips that were hit yesterday. So Western Digital down 8%. You can see there, having hit 800, we're back to below 500. That's quite a big sell-off, in the last several weeks. So it's going on. Micron also falling from a high of 1250 back to 850. So really quite significant falls there. Downside targets. We can see Seagate, Intel. So chips really badly hit. AMD. So it was not a good day, and we are seeing downside targets there as well. In the UK market, we're looking at a lot of red. Only a handful of stocks up, and interestingly, it's stocks that we are seeing some recovery. This was quite a big move from Diploma, but it would have been brave to buy that. One place that is looking quite good is banks. HSBC, that's the short-term chart. We go to the medium-term upside targets there. We also are seeing Standard Chartered were up earlier, and Barclays, not much change there, but the banks are looking relatively strong. But on the whole, we are seeing the market being difficult, and we've got downside targets there on Anglo American, even though they're up today. We're starting to break the cloud. A sea of red on the downside. Stocks like Relx, terrible performer over the last couple of years, failed recovery. This is the problem with recoveries, really. So that's it for today. It's going to be a challenging few weeks ahead by the looks of the charts. Until tomorrow, have a great day. Bye for now.